Hey, this is Arsenic from Ramblin' Regan, and this is weird. I am not used to doing this at all. I'm probably gonna do audio for the rest of this because the only light that I can find at like 3 o'clock in the morning is in the kitchen with this really bad light and the refrigerator right behind me. I'm sure you can hear it. So, if I end up doing another lighting situation, I don't know. I don't know if people like seeing what this looks like or just hearing my voice for like future things. I have like this much to go through. So, yeah, I think I'm gonna end up doing that because this is really loud. So, either way, I'll see you on the other side.
Yeah, sorry about that. And of course the, compressor to the refrigerator decided to turn off right now. Yeah, that's my luck. Either way, it was an uncomfortable situation to do it there because my apartment's really dark. Like, I don't know, people don't understand what overhead lights are these days, and I can't start drilling holes in the ceiling because it's not, it's an apartment. So, either way. I am so uncomfortable. I really did not want to do this video, but, I guess addressing the elephant in the room, Sasuke 33 is this weekend on TBS, and no, I'm not going to watch it. And I know at least there's a few people in SMF that know, and of course, through hearsay and whatever, some of the information has been relayed, but most people don't know why this is happening, and it's quite sudden considering that this weekend I also celebrate my 9th anniversary in Rambling Regan. Yes, 9 years. 2008. Yikes. Oh, where do I begin? Well, before I start, thank you. Thank you to everyone because I was terrified to bring this information up in the first place when it first happened. And I was hesitant to bring anything up simply because I wasn't sure how people were going to, I don't know how to explain it. It's a complicated situation, and because it has to happen with me, directly me, and it affects so many more people other than me, I wanted to make sure I had everything right. Because especially for something this big, I didn't want people to think, oh, well, she's usually emotional and she jumps to conclusions and whatever. And quite frankly, I really hoped I did. So I spent the better part of a month checking every source that I had. I mean, even old stuff, like people retired old stuff, that sort of thing. Sort of like, are you hearing any of this? And all of them confirmed it. And I went to the source and had a fairly heated discussion about the situation, and things are not going to change, so I had to make a decision. And based on the information that I had, I can't continue to support Sasuke. I love Sasuke. As a reminder to everybody else, Sasuke to me are people, not obstacles, not a TV show. Over the span of now 9 years, actually almost closer to 10, Rambling Regan 9, but before that I found it in 2007. But over the course of those 10 years, I've met people that literally are my best friends for the rest of my life. Some retired competitors that are still happy that I talk to them even though they're not competing anymore. That sort of thing, like real people. Because for me, I've always been interested in the human plight and what makes people tick and why they get into these, sports events and that sort of thing. I find it fascinating. I like finding people that are the opposite of me. I'm fascinated by cultures, languages, countries, just all these different things because that's what makes everybody, that's the human race. It's diversity. And I love diversity. I celebrate it. I think I have just about every culture in my bloodline. We're like the Borg. We've assimilated with everybody. It's funny with this as an aside, my mom actually sent out one of those DNA tests, and I swear that they were just gonna send back a sheet of paper going yes on every category. So, but that's what I mean. It's like I've always been fascinated, and half the time I end up talking to competitors and stuff like that. I end up talking about their culture more than anything. You know, where they grew up. And it's funny, especially when you talk to the ones that are like outside of Tokyo. They're like, can you please not judge the entire country by Tokyo? Because Tokyo is its own ecosystem. And I'm thinking the same. So long as you don't think that the entire United States is Las Vegas. And they're like, okay, sure. I agree on that one. But that's an aside, you know. And so I spent most of February and now part of March, we're now at the end of March, double checking and making sure. And everybody knows I kind of retired last year anyway from my blog, because I didn't even do the spoilerific blog for 32, and I wasn't doing it for 33 anyway. And so it seemed ludicrous that what happened, given that I'm already gone. So anyway, let me back up. First and foremost, I want to make this perfectly clear. I don't hate anybody. And everything that I came up with was my own. And of course, from a legal aspect, I'm not speaking for TBS, I'm not speaking for Fullcom, I'm not speaking for anybody else or even any other competitor. This is my decision, this is my story, and this is my rendition of it, if you would even go from that aspect of it. You know, this is what I took out of it after literally of a month and a half worth of research. And I don't like it because I still love Sasuke. And this is painful. You don't dedicate your, 1/4 of your life, because if you really want to think about it, I'm over 40 now. You don't dedicate 1/4 of your life for something that you're going to throw away in a second. And I am still going to see 33. I already know the results, but that doesn't matter. That's for the record, I have known every result since Sasuke 21, sorry. So that's what, 9 years? Yeah. So it didn't matter. I don't work that way. Everybody has, no one has ever gotten any spoilers out of me because just, it's not happening. You know, so many people want to see this unspoiled. It's not fair. And for the other ones, let them do the research. So, but before that happens, I want to make sure this is me. And I expect hate mail. I'm surprised I haven't gotten so far, and thank you. I really, really appreciate, because I've gotten an obscene amount of support, a lot more support than I thought I was going to get, given the situation. And I think in the process of my research, as I was asking, for like screenshots and more importantly, photos and stuff like that, I think people figured out what the problem was before I said anything. Because this was something that was so out in the open that it is ludicrous how we got to this point in the first place. So, in order to really explain this disaster, I have to go all the way back to Sasuke 32 last year. So 32, everybody remembers, was highly anticipated. It was the renewal. You had the 5th Kansenseiha ever, 4th ever champion in Morimoto, and we expect an entire overhaul of the course. And we already knew that they didn't have a lot of money, so we're like, okay, which ones, which obstacles, yada yada yada. Who's gonna be invited? Oh my God, Morimoto isn't gonna be invited. What's going on? All this extra stuff. So it was already, everybody was trying to get every morsel of information. And so here we are, going into this tournament, and everybody already knows what happened in the tournament, just by virtue of what TBS had posted on their Twitter and whatever. It was raining, you had the days had gotten mixed together. Later on he found out that Nagano was retiring and all this stuff. So it was already chaotic. They had a lot of technical issues, yada 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 yada. So in the middle of all this, I was blessed again to be able to be there in person. And I'm really happy that I was there in person. Now, I did an entire video of what I felt after I saw the broadcast and how I felt during the actual taping. And I have now 10 videos up on my entire trip to Japan and my actual experience, which was very different than it was when I saw the tournament. So I was excited anyway because I had a lot of my friends competing, like a little bit more than usual, you know. So I was some people that have been competing for the first time, others for others several times. It's just, it was a lot of excitement. And so before the tournament even started, I already had, remember, I have a lot of friends in Japan, and so I already got news from the All-Stars themselves that, you know, sort of like, don't say anything, but, you know, are you coming? Yeah, okay, great, it's good. Because there's a historic event. I'm actually retiring. And I was like, really? And it's like, yeah. And you're gonna be there, right? And I'm like, yeah. And I was like, okay, good, Akiyama's gonna be there. And we're gonna see if we're gonna try to get Bunpei. I was so excited. I'm like, yes, Kamakoto! You know, so I was excited. Everybody knew, you know, Akiyama's my favorite. And so he's like letting me know. So it's like, okay, we're still working on it. Schedules are kind of wonky and whatever, but I'm gonna try to get all my friends to go out there. And so I was like freaking out, going, yes! Now I knew all this stuff like January? Like earlier? I don't even know. It was so much earlier. And the tournament was in May. So it was, I think, like the week before, and this was after all of the date changes and whatever, and the week before I ended up getting confirmation, yes, all 6 are actually going to be there at the same time. I'm going, yes! In fact, I didn't find out till the day before I flew out to Japan that Akiyama definitely was going to be there. I'm like, okay, so you did get him. I was like, yeah, and Bunpei's about 70%. Just cross your fingers. And then by the time I landed, got my message, yes, he's going to be there. He's probably not going to be there for the whole thing, but, you know, get your pictures, get whatever, that sort of thing. Because they knew it was my last tournament. And again, everybody knew this was my last tournament anyway. It was Nagano's last tournament. And we were all, like, so excited. So it was like, okay. And I was almost like a kid, like in the day before Disney, even though I've never gone to Disney, but you know, like excited, like, oh, this is gonna be awesome, but I didn't say anything to anybody out of respect for Nagano, because Nagano told me not to say anything, and of course I could imagine TBS freaking out, going, oh my god, don't say anything. So I didn't. I've never said anything. So I even took so many precautions. I didn't even take my laptop. My phone was always visible at all times, and most of the time it was inside my purse. And y'all saw my videos. I was in the parking lot for like 3/4 of the time, and the ones that I wasn't, I didn't take pictures. So, and considering that I am extremely watched because of the nature of my blog, they didn't want any of that stuff on there, so I didn't. You know, it's like, I've been there before. I was there in 31 and you had 0 problems in 31. In fact, that 31 was probably, in my opinion, the best tournament ever made. Period. And, you know, of course I had some issues with the editing in the first stage, but outside of the, you know, first stage, I thought second and third and fourth were great. I had no idea what was coming for 32. So before I left, I had 0 problems with the tournament. Everything worked out. I mean, you already saw what happened, but those were things that were completely out of everybody else's control. I would hope, at least. I would hope that my opinion on some YouTube video, you know, a couple months later would be something that would be punishable. At least I hope not. So either way, I already knew I didn't want to be part of any political stuff, because there's always political stuff that's been going on for months, years. It's just like, even during M9, I mean, that was like the height of political stuff. But I wanted to have my last tournament as a positive experience, and I did. I had just an enviable amount of time with the All-Stars. I'd spent a lot of time with my friends, both actually from several different countries, not just Japan, and it was something that I wanted to make sure that I could look back at and be proud. And I still am. I still very much am. And I love my friends. They made that a very enjoyable situation given the chaos. I mean, who can say that like 3/4 of the day you had the first ever champion of Sasuke physically attached to you. Akiyama was with me the whole day. I mean, right in front of my husband, he would grab my arm and... Yeah, so let me start getting through some of this. So I avoided, obviously, since I spent time with my friends, I avoided, social media. I think I tweeted before I left and after the whole thing was over, and that was pretty much it, because luckily TBS was posting on their Twitter, all the chaos that was going on. I didn't need to do that. And if I'm spending time with my friends, I'm not like a person that I don't even have Facebook, so it's not like if I'm hawking social media. I mean, I'm with my friends, so I'll deal with social stuff later, you know what I mean? Everybody knew that before I left. So I knew there was something going on in social media. I was approached several times by a production team going, there's stuff going online. What are you doing? Where's your phone? This is, my phone's in my purse, sitting at a desk where my husband's sitting. Oh, okay. Do you know what's going on? I have no idea what's going on. What do you need? And they would tell me what was going on. They said, let me see if I can try to find out. And I didn't find out until much later. And then by that point, everybody was talking about. So the first thing that happened was Nagano's retirement was already leaked. I think in the middle of the first stage, before the first 50, that's all I remember. And so we spent the entire time trying to figure out who it is, but in a lot of ways I'm thinking it has nothing to do with me anyway, so I just kind of left it alone. I was sitting right in the middle of the food section. Everybody, and heck, I was with TBS people, you know what I mean? Having an open conversation. Everybody saw where I was. It wasn't me. So given that all of this was going on, obviously, since so much information was already out in social media, see, you have to understand, Sasuke fans, and actually even any fan that watches any kind of show, because ANW has it just as bad, if not worse, because of the scale. ANW is so much bigger and for such a longer period of time because of all the regionals. A tournament comes up, and the first thing that people will start doing is spoiler hunting. What are the obstacles? Did they change any from different regions and whatever? Sasuke is no different. Heck, I think in 33, the one that happened this year, I saw live video of people taking videos from freaking TBS building across the street, in which case, how did nobody in TBS know that was going on? Posted on social media, so spoiling everything of all the different obstacles and stuff this has been going on for years. But there was always a mechanism in place to take care of stuff like that. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff, all of a sudden some overeager fan that was there for maybe an hour takes a picture of their favorite person and then realize later that they took a picture of it right in front of an obstacle that has yet to be revealed. This has happened so many times. No one's paying attention to your little picture, dude. They're paying attention to the crap that's behind you. We did that all the time. Heck, back from the G4 days, there was they used to have BMX competitions, and so all of us in the forums were taking because these pictures were high res at that point. This is now 6-7 years ago, and we were paying attention to all of those photos because we're looking behind going, oh, that's a new obstacle, and people doing circles on it. This stuff happens all the time. So you can imagine the entire production crew freaking out because Nagano's thing's already spoiled. That means they have an active leak. They're not sure where it's coming from, and they're trying to plug it. Meanwhile, we're 6 hours behind schedule. All kinds of things are going wrong. We're now going into the middle of the night. It was chaos. So I think the thing that frustrated the most at that point was because it was supposed to be this huge reveal. I would assume, when Nagano did his interview, not his interview, the speech at the end, it was supposed to be but by that point, all of that was spoiled because no one knew when they first got there, and all of a sudden, the rumor mill spurt, and then by the time the following day happened, everybody knew. It got so bad that I think it was Inui, was it, that put it? Somebody posted on Twitter, either overnight or the same day, that they had, yes, we're gonna have to confirm the rumors that yes, Makoto Nagano is retiring, because it was so bad. I mean, we even heard that on set. So you could just imagine how frustrating it was. And I was approached like 3 times, I think, total. And just double checking. It's like, and then finally, by the 3rd time, it was obvious it wasn't me. So I know that by the time the 2nd day rolled around, they figured out their leak. And I didn't find out until, let's see, that was the weekend, I think the Thursday when I came back to the US. Because by that point, all the information had already hit the boards. The mods did a fantastic job trying to take a lot of that stuff down. So I knew that there was some sort of blueprint. I just had no idea what it was. And then by that point, by the time I came back, because man, I'm trying to do everything through my phone. There's like no way I'm going to start, I'm not good with it, okay? And so I didn't deal with the forum stuff until I got back. And by that point, most of those photos were taken down. However, I knew who it was. And those were easy to spot. Those were the Americans. Specifically, I have no idea who Mike Steele is. I guess he's like an ANW competitor who I don't know who he was attached to, whether he was attached to Brent or Casey or Drew. The other 2, no one had to tell me because I already knew. April, which was Drew's girlfriend, and Casey Catanzaro, because I think y'all that listened to my podcast when I talked about 32 probably heard it under my voice. I know a few of you actually sent me messages double checking. She was loud and she was everywhere. I didn't realize how bad it was until later, where apparently she would jump into like just about every interview, to congratulate whoever this person. No one knows who Casey is. Like, seriously, I'm sorry for Casey fans. There's no ANW footprint in Japan. None. So unless you were talking to competitors that actively competed in the United States, like the Shinserai, the new stars, everybody else had no idea who, the loud little girl is how she was referred to. So, it was just, I kept biting my bottom lip because as a competitor, she did fantastic. And she represented the United States very, very well. The way she acted outside of that, I questioned. I don't know if it's a generation thing or whatever, but I had issues with it, and I made sure I was on the opposite side, making sure I was nowhere near her because I wanted to say something, but I'm like, you know what? No, I'm just not. She's an adult. She'll take care of herself. And if anybody has any issues on the production team, let them deal with it. And TBS already has a couple people assigned to the Americans. Let them handle it. I just walked away. So 2nd day rolled around, and I think you can see even from some of my videos, the Americans were front and center. And apparently something happened during that. I have to double check my video. I think it might actually be in my video. I'll probably run that underneath this. There were photos that were taken of that ceremony with Nagano. That people took pictures. In fact, there were videos from even the because again, it was a special ceremony thing. We weren't even sure it was going to be shown in full anyway on the broadcast. I was hoping, and I already talked about that. But a lot of people took out their phones and no one said anything because it's one of those moments that you want, like, for posterity type thing. And they were okay with it. And I remember talking to several people about it, and they're like, okay, it's fine. Like, just don't post it. The big thing was never, don't post it ahead of the broadcast. And that rule has been in place for 20 years. So I think most of my last video of Japan was this week. This was from last year. So, and even the stuff that from 32 that I showed video wise, they didn't air until like a month after their air date. So I was fine. But apparently, I think it was Mike Steele. I don't know. I'm like trying to piece together the blueprint, because any kind of information like this spreads like wildfire, and then you can't figure out where the source is, but it's everywhere. It's like trying to find the little matchstick in front of a brush fire, or one of those forest fires. Like at this point it's irrelevant where it came from. But I think it was Mike that posted those photos within minutes of the ceremony, as in like live. And I didn't know that until I got back from the United States. So I can understand now why the production team was livid, because they found out almost instantly. Remember, I'm not on Facebook, so I don't know any of that stuff that's going on Facebook. And I wasn't on SMF, so I couldn't figure out what was going on. So clearly, what does any of this have to do with me? Apparently, it was my fault. I was the one that leaked everything, and I was responsible for the behavior and control of every single foreigner on that lot. Yeah, let that sink in for a second. Did it sink in yet? Okay, so I'm sitting there going, wait, what? Like, wait. Back up. What specifically was said? So this, you have to now fast forward a year. We're now in Sasuke 33. I am not even on the lot. I am still in my home in New Jersey. I'm retired. I'm not doing jack. And then all of a sudden I get a message, and not from any of my American or English speakers. I get messages from other people, other Japanese people. There's something going on in 33 against all the foreigners, and it's messy. I'm like, what? I'm like, okay, let's just wait. So the tournament happens, because we already had issues that we started early. Because even with the whole Drew situation, where Drew was, Inoue had said on the Nico Nico broadcast that he may not be around because he's going to be busy with ANW and whatever. Apparently, Drew found out and took exception to that, because that was not the story. I have no idea. I wasn't involved. So it started early, going, something's going on with the foreigners, and I had no idea. Again, I'm retired, I'm out of all of this, but immediately just like it starts coming to my character. I've been doing this for so long, people still share that information to me anyway. So I'm like, okay. Apparently that was all the rage during the Kunoichi taping. Everybody complaining about the tantrum that was done. So I'm like, ooh, I am so glad I'm retired. So 33 happens. First night, I get a message. You were named. And I said, wait, back up. What do you mean I was named? Like, Arsenet's group was the one that was responsible for all of the chaos last year. Let's analyze Arsenet's group for a second. Arsenet's group consisted of 4 competitors, all of which had passes, all of which were clearly visible to everybody on the set. Most of them were either in the sidelines with all the other competitors, or sitting in the parking lot with me, doing interviews with Nagano, who was just retiring. Let's see, the other one would be my husband, who was also, in fact, he never saw a single second of it. Remember I was telling you how his back was messed up, so he was sitting in that chair, and at least for all of day 1, literally all of day 1, he was sitting in that chair. So he didn't see any of that. Well, the obstacles and stuff getting rained on. No, he was sitting in the freaking parking lot. So it wasn't him. Let's see. Next person. Kathy. The one that saved TBS 2 years in a row because some of them decided not to even bother getting a French translator. Yeah, Kathy. She's responsible too, apparently. Let's see. Who's the next one on the list? Oh no, that's it, because they're all only just competitors. And contrary to popular thought, and it's not like if I'm an enemy or a friend or anything like that, I'm just not associated with the ANW competitors. Y'all know that. Enough of you send enough hate mail to let me know that I don't support ANW. So the idea that I'm, Casey's friend or April's friend or Drew's friend, like I said, I'm not enemies or anything like that, but I'm not part of their guest list. We're not attached. We don't, communicate with each other. I think the last message I ever got from Drew was like 2 years ago. That's it. So the idea that I am somehow physically responsible for their behavior is ludicrous. So part of the problem is when all of this stuff was going on, specifically the Casey stuff that was going on in the background, all they know is that a foreign girl was the one that was getting in the middle of everything. Now, I don't expect anybody to know. I'm not gonna, start dropping names or anything like that. Like, oh, you don't know who I am. I don't expect everybody to know who the hell I am. No, I don't expect anybody to know who Casey is or anything else. All they know is that a non-Japanese, I'm not even Caucasian. They'll just say an American woman, because I think is exactly what it was, an American girl is specifically is what they said. Kept interrupting production. Talking too loud, talking in areas that they should have been quiet. Remember how I was telling you the whole thing about, Sa and blah 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 when they're introducing people. Her voice was everywhere because she didn't understand. I don't know if she didn't understand protocol, because I don't know how ANW functions. I don't know how. I doubt that they have, because I guess it's always so loud because you have a loud studio audience. It works very, very different in Japan. And apparently either she didn't know, care, or otherwise. I really don't care at this point. So she was causing issues. So all they knew is female, non-Japanese was causing issues. My issue with this is that when this goes up the chain, I know the two people up at the top of the chain. Both of them know me by sight, by name. And more importantly, if this happened, wouldn't this be on camera? If they interrupted an interview that was videotaped, wouldn't this be in the video? Which would definitely exonerate me. So no, I'm not buying the argument that they couldn't figure out who it was. Now, for the part that bothers the most people, and the biggest argument that I had with said people in production team and further up the chain into TBS. Now, before I even bring this up, I want to be perfectly clear. I researched the living hell out of this to make sure that I wasn't jumping to conclusions or anything like that. So I'm going to give you the reasoning as to why I came up with this in the first place. And I am always reticent in bringing up this word. However, there is no other word for this. The word is racism. Specifically, casual racism, which, at least for me, follows an entirely different connotation than just outright. I use casual because I am convinced they didn't realize their actions were being that way, or that harsh, or, it's not like a hostile screaming of, oh my god, and then you can insert whatever derogatory term every single time you talk to a foreigner or see it. No, nothing like that. I'm talking about like production staff and ultimately it's their decision, based on that, because how they categorize this had further implications that I haven't even gotten to yet. If I said the statement, I can't tell them apart because they all look the same to me regarding any ethnic, racial group. Now let's play a game. I know this is harsh, but I have to do it this way so you can see how I ended up swallowing this. I don't know. I can't tell black people apart. Those Muslims are all evil. Stupid white people, they're all the same, aren't they? Some Asian dude, I don't know, Chinese. I would be called a racist if I said that, right? Now, especially in this country, right now in 2017, I would be called out. In fact, I don't even want to go where it would be if I uttered those words at all. So how is that acceptable in Japan in 2017? For the record, I can tell them apart. I think Japanese men are hot. Y'all that have been following me for I don't even know how long, half my blogs were talking about how gorgeous they are. And I can tell them apart. I mean, from like Viking and Sasuke in the beginning. I mean, this is how my husband watches kunoichi, okay? Look, I find them unique in their own way. And like I said in the beginning, look, I'm Puerto Rican. I'm so mixed. I probably have Asian somewhere in the middle of my bloodline. Like, I'm serious. I don't discriminate. I think God's children are beautiful, wherever they're from. So going back, putting those things together, again, I don't expect them to know who they are, blah, 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 because, you know, they don't know who anybody else. All they know it was non-Japanese, female, causing issues. It's where it went afterwards. By the time Sasuke 33 rolled around, they changed their policies on all foreigners based on what our Senet's group did in 32. So foreigners as one group. What are we, in middle school? One kid got caught chewing gum, so you're gonna keep the entire class after school? You have physical evidence. You have physical evidence of all of Mike Steele's photos posted. Oh, I haven't even gotten to Mike Steele's photos. Because Mike Steele did a lot more damage differently. He's the one that ultimately broke NDA. He's the one that spoiled the Nagano thing as soon as he arrived, posted it on his Facebook, and then spread like wildfire around the world. In fact, Mike was the one that posted the photo of Nagano falling in the water in the first stage. After nobody knew that it was in the ceremony, but they saw that he fell in the water. And then all of a sudden everybody was thinking, oh my god, Nagano failed on this first run. And that spread like crazy. Then of course you had April's photo in the second stage showing the obstacles behind her, showing Brent that was there in competition space. Then you had the rest of Mike's photos. More importantly, and no, I think it was April's photo of the brand new cliffhanger that had not been introduced. That was spoiled within minutes, which is why production team was livid. So all of this can be easily traced back by the Facebook account, of which I don't even own. So some of the arguments on the production time is, well, you know, they were given a lot of leeway because, you know, they're foreigners and they're stars. And so what we're doing now is evening the playing field so everybody can be on equal footing. How are we on equal footing? My entire group is now banned. I am now person non grata. I'm not even allowed to come back. All of my friends are now negatively affected. Every foreigner is now run through a microscope. In fact, they were corralled, criminals because they can't be trusted for what they're doing. And this is all. And yes, this includes Lee from Taiwan, okay? To be perfectly clear. I'm not sure if that affected his invitation. I'm not even getting to that point. I'm happy that nobody blames me, at least from the other group. I haven't talked to any of the Americans. I don't know. Again, I don't talk to them, so I don't know what their idea on this. But considering that the same people, I think except for Mike, because I don't think Mike was there. I don't know. April's still there, in case he was invited to Kunoichi. So let me get this straight. So my group and every single foreigner from around the world is now negatively affected because of the actions of two people that are physically still allowed to be in Sasuke. How is this fair? Monster 9, if you did this under Higuchi, I laugh because everybody on SMF knows exactly what would happen if even half of what happened on Higuchi's watch. You would never see that person again. And whoever that person was attached to, whether it was the competitor or their guest. Why do we even have, when we get our guest passes, to show our passports with our names to confirm that it's physically attached to the competitor if there's no penalty for that? So that means that the guests can do whatever the hell they want now? Or is this just for the foreigners again? And more importantly, the people that I spent 10 years in my career trying to support are all negatively affected under my name. It's now like it's Arsenet's group. It's all their fault. It's all my fault. So I'm not going to sit here and be someone's scapegoat because they're trying to protect a celebrity. So the simple, painless thing to do is, well, Mike will not be invited back. Well, he was a guest anyway. I couldn't even figure out whose guest list he was in. I have my own assumptions on it, but those are bigger. And then Drew himself didn't do anything wrong. In fact, he acted perfectly fine. Brett spent the entire time, because he was the first clear, sitting in a chair. Everybody saw where he was literally the entire 2 days, because he was sitting in a clear chair, because he was the first clear every single time. So we're down to Drew's girlfriend. So if you're going to do anything, either you ban her or you ban him, because that's what the rules are supposed to be, which is the whole point of this. Personally, I would just think one of the easiest, painless things to do is stop him from having any guests, because apparently he can't take care of them. I have no idea. I'm just trying to figure out ways around this. And then whoever was attached to Mike Steele. So if Mike was part of Drew, same thing, or part of Brent, same thing. Casey's is easy. Don't invite her again. Because this wasn't a guest, this was actually her. Look, my mantra has always been the same. And if I'm wrong, I own up to it immediately. And I have been wrong. I mean, it's not pleasant. It's embarrassing, but it has to be done. When I'm wrong, I sit there going, all right, I'm gonna have to bring it up, and sort of like when you have a band-aid, you just kind of rip it off and just get it over with, because at least in the future people will know, okay, she's recanted, blah 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 blah. Look, I get emotional. I'm freaking Puerto Rican, okay? My entire blog, it's called Rambling Rican. I know that, but for goodness sake, this is why I made sure, especially with something so uncomfortable, I wanted to make sure that I got this right. I made sure that it wasn't just an American point of view. I asked competitors that were there, competitors that weren't there, competitors from other countries other than America. Again, competitors from Japan. In fact, I spent most of the time talking to the Japanese competitors because I wanted to see if it was a cultural issue. And apparently I'm told it is. Which is why I backed down from the straight up racism to casual, because they don't see anything wrong with that. That's his own problem. But as someone that is negatively affected and the one that's ultimately held responsible for that, I had to say something, because that's wrong. And that affects anyone that is not Japanese trying to get on this show. I mean, it's bad enough that I was falsely accused, but a policy was changed as a result of my group? Because my name was invoked when we now have an Arsenet rule? It was my responsibility? Can you understand why I lost my marbles? I will vehemently defend my friends. They come from all over the world. I met people who I will continue to support and cheer. I've made friends that will last a lifetime. I will not allow that stupid incident from last year that had nothing to do with me or any of my group mar their contributions to Sasuke. Like, I'm not gonna go retcon my entire life that, oh, because this happened to me and whatever, I'm gonna hate everybody. No, because they were never responsible for anything like that. They were the first ones to jump to my defense. And from what I understand, they did it in real time. I'm sad I didn't see that. I'm sad it happened at all. But I was proud to know that they did it in real time. All of them spent years of their life promoting and supporting this dying show. I think the thing that frustrates me is that some of the, quote-unquote, my group, were the same ones that bent over backwards to try to save production when they were disorganized. Who can speak Chinese and translate because they didn't bother getting a translator for Chinese? Who can translate for French? Oh wait, you mean there was somebody that actually stole our IP? Yeah, remember Sasuke China? You know, the irony of this situation? Who are the two people that helped support the show when it was a complete and absolute ripoff? That were paid to be on the show and actually help support and select the final teams for the team event. Yeah, Brent and Casey. So, can you see the irony in this? There's no repercussions for any of their actions. But it's perfectly fine to pick on the loudest person on the internet. The loudest person of dissent whenever TBS, Volcom, or whoever the heck is attached to Sasuke does a boneheaded maneuver. And more importantly, I refuse to be a scapegoat or silenced by those who didn't like that I critiqued the show over the years, or that I used screen caps or anything like that. I am not the first person to do so, and I'm certainly not the last. I don't know if it's retaliation. I don't want to be a noun used or a phrase used to describe bad behavior, especially when I didn't commit the crime. I don't want an arsenette rule. And that's what exists right now. Sasuke used to have an honor system. That over time, people will abuse that trust. And it doesn't matter which country they're from. Believe it or not, it actually happened most from the Japanese side simply because there's substantially more than them. There's 90% of the list is always Japanese, with 10% always being some sort of foreigner. So just from statistics, you're gonna have more problems on the Japanese side. This happens a lot on Sasuke. That's why that rule existed. Other countries deal with it differently. Look at the United States. Y'all that have ever stepped foot in ANW, you had to sign that 60-page NDA, right? Have you read that NDA? They own you. And if you step a foot out of line, you can read which section that has the penalty for it. And it has a lot of zeros, doesn't it? For those that are not familiar with the American Ninja Warrior non-disclosure agreement, should you break the non-disclosure agreement, there's literally paragraphs of pages and pages of any possible type of violation that they can nail you for, even inference. And the same penalty applies. $1 million USA. And if you think that they're not going to try to collect, you certainly do not understand American corporations, especially NBC. So Sasuke goes the opposite direction and chooses to marginalize every single foreigner because they're afraid to touch a celebrity. And for that reason, I can no longer support this show. As far as I'm concerned, Sasuke's dead. That has been gone. And this isn't the same show that I would fight half the world to defend. I wanted to bring this back to the American airwaves. I spent the past 6 years fighting both countries over their stupid decision to pull it from the American market in the first place. Now, I don't want this here. I don't care anymore. And I will agree with the vets. I didn't think I would, but they're absolutely right. It was a mistake to bring back Sasuke. Sasuke Rising should have never existed. Back then, you would qualify in the show, and you were there as a competitor until you did something stupid. Now, it's a popularity contest and with how much political gain you have in order to even come back into the show. That's not Sasuke to me. I can watch American Ninja Warrior for that. I already mentioned that I'm not gonna retweet or tweet. In fact, I spent all of last week unfollowing a lot of Sasuke related type things that I used to use for news and information and stuff. I still follow a lot of my friends, but a lot of incidental stuff. This stuff is painful, man. This is painful. My website's not going anywhere. I'm still writing my book. I incidentally have a new title for it thanks to this. William and I have already decided that we're going to stop the Final Stage podcast. In fact, next week we tape our last episode, so if you're interested in doing comments or questions for the final broadcast. All that stuff is through Twitter. You can do it on the comments underneath here if you want. But I can't do this anymore. I also abandoned my efforts in trying to bring, Sasuke competitors here in conventions. Y'all that have been following me and seen a couple of the panels, the only reason why I even started doing the panels was because I had to prove that I can host them. So yeah, that's been a few years, hasn't it? We were close to actually bringing them to several of probably the largest convention in the world. Yeah. 3 of them total. And yeah. So there goes 5 years of my life. I'm not going to delete all of my life like if I didn't exist. Yeah, finalstagepodcast.com is probably going to revert back to the blog version of that, like the blogspot version of that, but it's not going to go anywhere. I think the iTunes is going to be there. I think the way it works is that it works forever, but you won't be able to download anything past August because we'd have to renew hosting for that. My blog is probably going to stay the same at ramblingrican.com because I'm still going to be writing my book, and my book is going to run through the website. Then I have one last final project that I'm still working on. I'm desperately trying to finish it, but that alone has its own political problems. I don't know, keep your fingers crossed on that one. So yeah, I'm really sorry. I'm so frustrated. I didn't want to do this video. I didn't want to go through this whole thing all over again. But there's a lot of people that didn't know. And for those that didn't know, and this is now months later, and they're trying to figure out where the heck what happened to Arsenet, there's a video somebody can listen to. I'm just so frustrated. The biggest thing though, I want to thank everybody that supported me. Last year was horrible. Last year I had death threats. People wanted me dead. People wanted me to get the hell out. I was, a sorry piece of whatever, And then this year people figured it out before I even told them. And I think some of you figured it out as soon as I started asking, does anybody have those photos? Immediately. And then when they found out that I was blamed for stuff that it was completely out of my control, thank you. I mean, I'm not used to this. I'm not used to having support. I'm usually the first person that is attacked for crap I never even did. So I was moved because I had so many messages of support. I felt bad because I still love Sasuke, and I was excited even with all the crap that's happened in the background. I wanted to see 33. I loved Kunoichi. It was extremely awkward with the Final Stage podcast because the Final Stage podcast, the previous one, that was in the middle of the storm, and I'm trying to but I liked Kunoichi. And it's just so frustrating. But thank you for everybody that helps support me and knows the BS that's going on. And I know some of you won't care. I doubt any of you that didn't care or even listening to this part of the thing anyway, so it doesn't matter. I mean, the ones that are the ones that paid for me to go to Japan for 2 straight years. I mean, who does that? I didn't think I was going to raise enough money the first year, and you guys did it twice. I mean, the hell? Thank you. Hopefully this year, I was able to do a little bit better of a job in explaining how a wonderful experience it was, and I'm still gonna love Sasuke. That's why I'm still doing my book, and if anything, I'm gonna concentrate on the non-political stuff and all the wonderful people that still exist to this day in that show. It's sort of like the vehicle. It's sort of like, I hate the vehicle, insert name of whatever, make of car. But the people inside it driving it they're not responsible for the make of the car. They're just driving the car. So, I can separate that. I did that with ANW years ago, and I felt a whole lot better because I can, I could still support each of the competitors. And no, I'm not gonna get upset if people ask me, what was your favorite Sasuke moment or anything like that. I'm not gonna take offense to that. So thank you for asking, and thank you for being sensitive to bringing that up. But I can't do the future stuff, and I won't do the future stuff because of ultimately how they think of me. So if anything, they did me a favor and they showed their true colors, and they really showed how much they hated me. Which is a shame, but I can't control that. So it's gonna be a while until I kind of go through this and get that out of my system. I mean, Sasuke's ingrained in my entire life. Again, I spent a quarter of my life doing this. And so it's gonna be a slow process, and it's still a painful process. But I'm relieved that there's so many people that supported me, and thank you. Again, I don't care if I sound like a broken record. I don't think you really understand how much this really means to me right now, and it makes me feel that I didn't waste 10 years of my life. So thanks, guys. I'm sorry, I just can't do this anymore under these conditions, and nothing's ever gonna change that. Yeah, like they're gonna apologize? Are you kidding? So, but I have to stand up and defend myself, regardless of how uncomfortable and whatever negative reaction comes out of all of this. And I knew it was gonna happen, and that's why I procrastinated as long as I did. But, to my friends, I'm sorry. I am so sorry if anything that I did caused that to happen. I'm glad I'm not blamed by you. But for the rest of the community, thank you again. And more importantly, thank you for listening to this very, very, very long diatribe. So as for the future of this channel, I'm still gonna keep it. I'm gonna change a few things. Obviously, I'm not going to be following Sasuke, so if people are interested in seeing more Sasuke content, I'm sorry, there won't be. The closest Sasuke content would be anything promoting my book, which I'm still writing, which is taking forever, which is a painful process, and I think you can understand why now. So you can see why I've been procrastinating. I haven't written a single word in over a month and a half. So yeah, thanks for listening, but I'm done.